Hi, I'm Amy Kooy. I'm the president of the Metal Arts Guild, which is a nonprofit organization that's been around since 1951. In the past 10 years have offered the MAG grant, and in the past it has been given towards students, college students that are looking to pursue a career in the metal arts. But with our 60th anniversary, that was in 2011, we had a big focus on community. In fact, we had a symposium called Forging Communities. And with the theme with community, it really invigorated the membership and got people interested in becoming active in the organization. And we had a lot of events going on. So we wanted to build up on that momentum. When we saw Christine's application, we were very excited because not only was she going to be serving the schools, but she was going to have an immediate, direct effect for change. You know, it's really important health in the classroom and in the studio especially, and so if you can start having good habits as a student, then you'll carry those throughout the rest of your career. So this year we upped our grant to $1,000 and we'll continue to do so in future years to really help make a difference. And then knowing that Christine, she's an authority on green jewelry, that sometimes it just takes one grant for the rest of them to keep pouring in. So we're hoping with this grant that she'll be able to more easily receive and be awarded future grants to do the same kind of work.
Hi, my name is Christine Dhein, and I am passionate about making jewelry. The goals of the project, there were actually two goals when I proposed the project. The first was to teach students about the environmental impacts of mining precious metals, and the second goal was to teach them how to change their practices to be less impactful on the planet and also to be healthier and safer for themselves so they'll have a healthy, safe future as a jeweler. In order to do this, I've gone around and worked with the students. I've given them information about gold mining, and the facts are quite stunning. When you try to mine an ounce of gold, it takes 20 tons of waste rock to mine that 1 ounce. You have to excavate the gold out of the ground with huge machinery, transport it, crush it, and sprinkle it with cyanide. So we're talking about energy use, chemical use, quite a bit of environmental impact. In fact, the destruction is so large in some of the mines that the holes can be seen from outer space. So we're talking about a lot of environmental destruction. With this type of mining, it's called large-scale mining. Now there's a second type of mining called small-scale or artisanal mining, and that mining is done with a large labor force and not very much equipment. So the impact there is more on the people who do the mining. Many people don't have safety equipment, the mine shafts may be unstable. There are also a lot of children involved in gold mining. About 300,000 children worldwide are mining for gold. And mercury pollution is actually a large problem with this type of mining. About 1,000 tons of mercury per year is released into the environment because of this kind of mining. So it's quite a big problem as far as the communities go. Oftentimes the communities don't really receive the rewards, the monetary rewards that are fair as far as the mining is concerned. And of course, everything is looking bad when we're looking at all of these problems with the mining, but there are some alternatives. And so that's what I wanted to share with students throughout the Bay Area, and hopefully the word will spread to students even in other places. So the alternatives we have right now are first to purchase recycled metals, both precious metals, and we actually found some options for purchasing recycled copper, which a lot of the students are using because it's less expensive to work with. So there's refiners that refine the precious metals and use only recycled metals, and there are ways of purchasing copper sheet that's been used for some other industrial purpose and has been left over, but the pieces are large enough to make jewelry. So the students have started to purchase that for their studios as well. So that's been a good way for students to feel like they're making a difference as far as the mining goes, not participating in that type of system. There's another way that's very new. It's really just coming to this country. It's called fair trade gold, and that's very similar to fair trade coffee in that there's very strict standards that regulate how the gold is mined, and it's governing the type of mining that I was talking about, small scale and artisanal mining with the large labor force, so that the workers are paid fairly, treated well, they have the proper safety equipment, they're not dealing with the chemicals and in an unsafe way. And because if they can meet these standards, then they actually earn more than the spot price for gold. They get a 10% bonus on top of that, and that money goes towards the community so they can improve their mining operations, have better safety equipment. The money could be chosen. They decide. It's a democratic system, so they decide how the money is spent. They can spend it on the mining operations, they can spend it on healthcare, education for their children. The money is basically there to go back into the community and help them improve their situation. So those are two options, and students really responded well to those two possibilities for improving the way that they're sourcing their materials. Then the next thing that I wanted to share with the students was different ways that they could keep themselves healthier and safer and make less of an impact in the studio. So the first thing we did was related to the fact that mining has such a big impact on the planet, and that was to collect bench scrap at the bench. When you're making jewelry, there's a lot of little dust particles that come off from sawing and filing and the different processes involved. And oftentimes people will see the larger pieces of scrap and collect those because those are fairly obvious, but sometimes the finer pieces are just swept up and go into the trash. So once it's obvious what an impact this mining has, it becomes more important to save those smaller scrap pieces, the filings. So we created a system. I brought in materials and the students were able to do some hands-on work to help create these bins that would separate the larger pieces from the filings, and that way they could use the larger pieces in their jewelry work, and the filings would then go back to the refiner and be collected that way. So it was really great to see the students excited to do their part and do what they could to collect the scrap. There's one thing that is used in the operation of making jewelry where you clean the jewelry in a mild acid solution called pickle. The chemical that's usually used is called sodium bisulfate. And what we did in the studios that I worked with is we switched out the chemical for something that's less toxic called citric acid. Once it's come in contact with precious metal, there is going to be copper or some other kind of heavy metal in the solution, so it has to be disposed of properly. So we created some disposal containers where we could collect the pickle once it was no longer useful and evaporate it and store it until there was enough of it to take it to hazardous waste. Some other things that we did were to install sink traps. And what sink traps are is another way to collect the precious metal. It is installed underneath the sink, and it's a little collection unit where if any metal is washed down the drain, it can actually be captured in the trap and then sent back to the refiners.
But you don't really think about the supply chain and how, material actually arrives at your fingertips. So for sure, learning about the mining practices and how we get the metal will definitely add depth to the program.
I thought it was very interesting the impact of everyday jewelry making impacts the environment. I was not aware of all the different toxic things that happen, so I thought that was very, very helpful.
I guess I just like it's like these little steps, and you look at it over time. It actually makes a difference, and it actually feels like it kind of gives you a sense that maybe if you do something, just one person, that it will affect change as a whole. It's like, I guess, the butterfly effect. Really.
In fact, I'm going to tell all the friends that are doing jewelry to actually change and Google these things and keep it, clean as possible.
I was very happy to see the positive response from the students and their excitement to get everything started for a better future.